Hey guys, welcome back to the Thisissoul Skate Shop YouTube channel. Today I'm gonna tell you everything there is to know about frame spacers. We are here in our store in Amsterdam right now. If you ever need a frame spacer or any part of your skate, you can always come here for expert advice. If you're forced to shop online, then it's my job to provide you with the best information possible. And in this video, I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about frame spacers. If you want to know about any other topics, about like frames in general, then check out our YouTube page because we have loads of information already on there and we make a new video every week. The frame spacer is the part of the frame which separates the wheel from the frame. There needs to be a little bit of space, hence it's called the spacer, because otherwise the wheel will rub the inside of the frame and you will not go that fast. There are a few different frame spacers that you can take out of the frame, but most skates nowadays actually have a frame spacer included in the frame itself. So if you have like a generic skate with a metal frame, then chances are there's no separate frame spacer for you. Most frame spacers on the market that you can find are actually in aggressive skate frames because they're made of plastic. All plastic frames have frame spacers, and if they don't, then they're just not as good. Because the frame spacers, they make sure that the wheel sits in tight and doesn't move. If you have a plastic frame and a plastic frame spacer, then the wheel can move and you'll go less fast. For example, the UC transformer comes with very weak plastic frame spacers. Luckily, they're interchangeable, so if one breaks, then you can just swap them. And of course, we offer it on our website. Then there's two other ways to have a frame spacer. And this is to kind of like include the frame spacer in the bearing. And the Icon brand just made a really nice high-end frame where they can only do it with special bearings that have kind of like a frame spacer included in it. So this is really new and high-end. And it enables you to have all sorts of different wheel positions in the frame because there's no kind of like integrated frame spacer rubbing on the wheel if you put it in a different position. Then there's one more technique to do it, and that's kind of like a frame spacer that's more a part of the bearing itself. This is used in kind of like cheap children's skates and maybe some cheap adult skates, but if you have like a €150 plus skate, you'll definitely not find this. And it's also only used with 6mm axles. A cool feature of some of the frame spacers is that if you take them out, you can flip it and put it back in a different position. And this will let the axle go more up or down or more forward or backwards. So you can kind of like play very subtly with the position of your wheel because of some frame spacers. This originated actually from the very beginning of inline skating in its modern form. Inline skating emerged in the 80s and it really blossomed in the 90s. And all those early inline skates already had rockerable frame spacers. So this cool technology was already present then. You can see it still in the current day Roach's 1992 skate, this is called. This is an adaptation of the most early like skates in the 80s, and you can see that it is a plastic frame and it has a metal frame spacer that you can flip. Another example of the same technology used is the Impala Lightspeed skate. It also has a plastic frame and metal frame spacer that you can flip and change the position. By changing the position, you can also play with the rocker. So if, for example, you put your outer wheels more up and your inner wheels more down, then your skate gets more maneuverable and it's easy to play around with it. modern metal frame skates, like this FR skate here, they also have a rock ring option, but they solve it by having an axle that can be put in two different ways. So this axle is kind of like asymmetrical. There's a little bump here, and you can put it in the frame in two different positions, and that will enable the wheel to go up and or down depending on if you flip the axle or not. Right now there's no metal frame on the market that has a frame spacer that you can take out, but I can tell you right now that Powerslide is gonna bring something out in the next couple of months that's gonna be revolutionary. It's gonna be a metal frame with frame spacers that enables you to put the wheel in different positions. So keep an eye out for that one. Next topic is the dimensions of the frame spacers. And then after that, I'm gonna talk about how to mount them on the frame, because sometimes that's quite complicated. So I have a couple of tips for that. All these frame spacers come in different shapes and sizes. Of course, there's the rock ring ones, but even if you have a non-rock ring frame spacer that's just like a standard circle, there's so many different shapes and sizes for it. Well, they're all circles, but the dimensions change. The inner diameter is always 8 millimeters because that's the diameter of the axle. Of course, there's also some 6 or 6.3 millimeter axles for like old school skates or children's skates or just cheap skates. They come with smaller axles. Most of you watching this video will probably have 8 millimeter axles. So that dimension is always the same. The outer ring dimension, however, changes a lot. It changes so much that it's very rare for one frame spacer, even though it's roughly the same shape and it looks the same, for that same frame spacer to fit in a different brand frame. The problem is though that it's really hard to get aftermarket frame spacers. So if you lose one when you're changing your wheels and maybe you drop one and then it's gone, then it's really hard to find that exact frame spacer online. So one thing I'm gonna do now to make this process easier is I bought this cool tool. It's a digital caliper, and with that tool I can exactly measure until the hundredth of a millimeter what the outer diameter is from each frame spacer, and I'm gonna include this in the product description of all these frame spacers on our website, so that you can find kind of like the best matching one if you ever need one for your frame. So let's take this wish frame here, and I know from experience that if you want to put in the frame spacer in this wish frame, that it's kind of like impossible to press it in with just your thumb. If you're gonna try it, you're gonna get like a red ring around your thumb, and you're gonna have a bad time. Maybe you're gonna be successful with one, but then you need to do 16. So that's gonna be impossible. One first thing that you can try is to put the bolt part from your axle. You can put it over the frame spacer and use that to push it in. If that's not successful, then you can also put the axle in there, and then you can pull and push and kind of like wiggle the whole thing at the same time. And by doing that, by just pulling and pushing and wiggling, it will go in. So if all of that doesn't help, then you need to build a special tool, and you can use a couple of bearings for that. You put the bearings over the axle. Probably need like 4 to start with. You do the same little trick with the frame spacer, and you put the bolt over it, put it in from the inside, and then you use the axle to put over the bolt, and then you tighten it all using your Allen keys. And by tightening it with the Allen key, you will naturally push the frame spacer in. Bam. Yeah, it worked. All right. So that's the pro tip. If you really cannot get your frame spacers in, use the axle and some bearings. That's everything that I know about frame spacers. If there's any information you missed, you can always ask it in the comments, and or if you know something extra about frame spacers, you can also drop it in the comments. We make a new video like this every week, so if you like videos like that, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Scrap all that. It's stupid. Can you please also not do it as a blooper? I don't know if that was clear. That's a little bit more clear. God damn it. So smooth. Fuck, I forgot the name. I tried so hard.